Coastal Division in the ACC is really a three-team race. Started with Virginia Tech. Can Logan Thomas end up replacing Tyrod Taylor as the starting quarterback of the future for the program going forward? I think yes, if he can improve his passing ability, because that was the one underrated thing about Tyrod Taylor was his passing. His passing percentage got so much better going further along his career, but also the talent that Logan Thomas is going to have around him is definitely going to make him easier transition to become that quarterback that they're looking for going on to the future. David Wilson is the guy that everybody needs to keep their eye on and listen out for this year. I think he's a Heisman dark horse. This kid is a playmaking stud, catching the ball out the backfield, running the ball. Out of two of the guys, out of the three-headed monster they had back there, two guys who was going to the NFL, he was the main guy to stand out, and that says a lot. When you had guys like Ryan Williams and Darren Evans in the backfield with you at the same time, who the NFL got their eye on, and they point out David Wilson. They also led talented and experienced at the wide receiver position, led by Jared Boykins, Cole, and also at tight end. They need to find out who's going to be at the tight end, but they're actually really good position-wise as of skill positions. I think they're good. Their offensive line, they're solid forward-turning starters led by Blake DeChristopher. Very good, very good. I think he's the best. He has the potential to be a star, but he's got a little minor setback due to injury that he has, so he'll be out for a couple of weeks at first. This defense is probably the best athletic and fast defense that Bud Foster has ever had, and that's saying a lot over the defensive guy that Virginia Tech has had over the years. Very solid at linebacker, very solid up the middle at both the tackle positions. They have good edge rushers off the edge. This defense is going to be led, though, by probably the best defensive back in the country in Jaron Hosley. Jaron Hosley led the country last year with picks with 9. He's a game changer at punt returner. I think he's a guy that everybody's going to have to need to watch out for. Next is North Carolina, who's another team that should be competing for the division. I wanted to pick them this year and last year because they're just so talented, especially on the defensive side of football. Well, they could have had the best defensive 2 years in a row with all the NFL talent that they had. But every time I wanted to pick them, they always had a scandal right before fall camp starts. This year, it was them firing Butch Davis 2 weeks into the season. Last year, everybody knew they was really the main school involved in the agents scandal, and they had a lot of players that was suspended or kicked off school for that. I think at the quarterback position, they're very, very solid. I like Brian Renner. If he can bring everything together, they always had hope that he was the guy for the future, and they're hoping he can do it now. At the running back position, they lost 3 of their top running backs from last year, but they regained somebody from 2 years ago, and Ryan Houston, who led their team 2 years ago in 2009 in rushing yards, but got suspended last year due to the scandal and got hurt in that same year. But if he could come to that 2009, go back to that 2009 form, I think they'll be very solid. They have one of the best wide receiving cores probably in the ACC with Dwight Jones, Eric Highsmith, and Jermaine Boyd. Jermaine Boyd is another person everybody's got to keep an eye for. Very, very good playmaker, fast guy. He's a guy that can change the dynamic of a game in the return game, or he can be a guy who can make a 3-yard gain into a 90-yard touchdown. He's one of those type of guys. Very, very solid and talented and experienced at the offensive line, which is going to be a key thing. That's the most underrated thing about the ACC. They have very good lines from top to bottom almost. Almost every team has a good, very solid line. That defense is scary, especially that front four with Quentin Couples, who's a first round guy, probably top 10 guy. Dante Page-Moss, who's a probably top 20 guy first round. Tedrick Bell, Tydrick Powell at a defensive tackle position, who's also a late first round guy. They also have Zach Brown, who's going to be another guy who's looked at the NFL. Charles Brown, who's probably one of the best cover corners in the country. This defense is going to be really, really solid, and I really like it. Players to watch out for, though, is Giovanni Bernard, to be the backup running back, who is probably also going to be the running back going forward. Very good, solid guy from St. Thomas Aquinas. I think he can help. He can help take some carries off of Ryan Houston, so he doesn't carry the whole load as well. The next team, the last team, I think that can really contend for the Coastal Division and probably the ACC is Miami. The one thing about Miami is, can the real quarterback for Miami, or the starting quarterback, please stand up? Everybody's wanted it to be Corey Harris for so long, and he's been hurt or just been inconsistent, or just sometimes he would look at him and be like, wow, he's a really good quarterback, and then he'll make a play right after it and be like, why did he make that throw? And that's what really has been hurting Miami fans, have been killing Miami fans for the longest, his inconsistency. Will he be the starter, or will Stephen Morris, who came in last year, helped out a little bit and then tailed off towards the end of the season, will he help going into this fall? I think they're solid at the running back positions. I like Lamar, the combination of Lamar Miller and Mike James. I like those two guys. They're really solid at there. The wide receiver position, to me, has been a real disappointment, especially with the talent that they have with Tommy Streeter, Adrenas Johnson, Kendall Tompkins, Travis Benjamin, who's actually the only guy who's lived up to that potential, LaRon Byrd. They've had guys that they just haven't been able to step up and become playmakers. Also, one thing about their offense, very questionable offensive line. They had Central Henderson, one of the number one prospect a couple years ago as offensive tackle. He's out for the season due to a back surgery. He had back problems. And I just want to see who's going to step up on that offensive line and be a leader and help out Ja'Cory Harris and keep him protected. Because Miami's never really been able to keep Ja'Cory Harris protected for a long periods of time. That defense, I love the defense up the middle with the defensive tackle position with Regis and Forston. Marcus Forston, to me, could be the best D tackle in the whole country. Could be one of the top D tackles taken in next year's NFL draft. He has that potential. He's just never lived up to it. And everybody feels that this is his now or never shot. And can he turn in one of those unforgettable seasons like Nick Fairley has had, or other great defensive tackles have had, Ndamukong Suh, guys like that, have they had? Can he turn in that type of season? I think he has the athletic ability to do that. Very questionable at the edge rushing positions. I want to know who's going to be their edge rush, who's going to replace Allen Bailey, and who's going to be the other edge rush guy. They're going to need to get to the quarterback in this league, or at least contain the quarterback, with a lot of athletic quarterbacks and pocket passers they have in the ACC. They're very solid at the linebacker position. I love Sean Spence, one of the best linebackers in the country. Raymond Buchanan, a returning starter, knows very smart guy. Question is, what are they going to do in the middle linebacker position? They lost leadership and they lost their quarterback basically on the defensive side of the ball, and Colin McCarthy. I want to know who's going to step up into that role and become that leader, become that middle linebacker, become the quarterback of that defense. The defensive secondary, they're very, very inexperienced at corner, and they don't have a lot of playmakers. Hopefully Brandon McGee can step up. They lost Brandon Harris last year to the NFL. Very inexperienced at corner. I want to see what they do there. But at the second end, they're very, very, very talented, experienced, and got playmakers at the safety position. I want to see what they do there at safety with Ray Armstrong and Vaughn Telemeke. Go to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's one of those teams where they're going to be battling for mid, try to get up there, but I don't think they don't have the talent right now. Who's going to replace Josh Nesbitt? They have great depth at the running back with Orrin Smith, Rodney Jones, Embry Peeps. They have a lot of people. They have a lot of talent and depth there. Very solid offensive line. I like their front seven. Their secondary is a little question. They have little experience there. I want to see what they do over there at the secondary spot. Virginia, I like this team. Mike London's second year there, getting his system acclimated with the players over there. Who's going to start the quarterback position? Mike Rocco or Ross Matheny? I want to see who's going to start there. Who's going to? I don't know what they like at the running back position. They have guys there. They don't have guys there. I don't know what their running back position is. They don't have a lot of talent, the depth there. So they got to see what they got coming out of fall camp. I love Chris Bard. Who's going to help him? Once again, they have very young weapons, but the best one that they have, Chris Bard, is one of the best wide receivers in the ACC. They return a couple of starters from the offensive line. Very good, solid offensive line as well, like always. Their defense is very, very underrated. Cam Johnson can be a beast at defensive end, coming off the edge and tackling. I want to see what that happens there. I think he could be a double-digit sack guy. One of the best players. I think he's one of the best players, not just defensive but offensive. Well, he's one of the best overall players in that league. As long as Chase Mennefield. I think last year they had the best corners duo with Rasad Dowley and Mennefield last year. But I think Mennefield is actually the better corner, even though Rasad went second round overall to the Patriots. But I think Mennefield is better than him. And I like their speed that they have at linebacker. They have a lot of speed at linebacker, which I really like. A player to watch for that can actually help their running back position, though, is going to be Brandon Morgan. Blue chip guy a couple years ago, redshirted last year. Hopefully they think he could step up in that running back position. Duke, I think Duke can actually make a bowl game this year. Very underrated team. Very, very underrated Sean Renifee. I think he's a very good, solid quarterback. Very great arm strength. I think David Cutler, Coach Cutler, who's known as a guru as quarterback and offensive guru, he's definitely gonna help Sean Renifee's progression. I love their offensive line led by Kyle Hill. They're very solid seniors, led. I like their playmakers at the wide receiver position. They have probably two of the most underrated wide receivers in Donovan Varnar and Connor Vernon. I don't know what they have at running back. Very, very iffy there. They're okay at line. They're okay at the defensive line. I want to see what they can get as a pass rush. Very thin at linebacker, so they're running a 4-2-5. But running the 4-2-5, that means you have a great confidence with your secondary. They have okay corners. I like their corners a little bit, but I think they're really deep at safety with Matt Daniels, Lee Butler, and Walt Canty, who are going to be the leaders of that defense and will really help out as well. But I really think that Duke can finally actually make a bowl this year, bowl game, which they haven't been to a long time. But out of the three, like I said from before, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, Miami, it's what's going to happen at quarterback. They all have their Miami. What they're going to do at quarterback is going to be key, because quarterback is driven in any league. It goes on your quarterbacking play. North Carolina, how does the team handle adversity again, even though they're mega talented at the defensive side of the football? And Virginia Tech, can Logan Thomas step up? If Logan Thomas can step up, I think Virginia Tech is going to win the Coastal Division this year, and they're going to take on Clemson in the ACC championship game. So I think it's going to be Clemson and Virginia Tech in the ACC championship game this year. Let me know what you guys think. Comments, thoughts, opinions.